For pensioners over 65, the income tax threshold will move to $2 million.
And for those over 55, the threshold will move to $1.75 million.
Also, a reverse tax credit is coming for PAYE earners who take home less than $3 million.
Guarantors no longer needed for loans from Students' Loan Bureau.
And a first in Jamaica, unemployment insurance is coming for you if you lose your job.
In news from the rest of the world, Bahamas' Minister of Energy says the country's power and light company, BPL, has over $500 million in debt.
Biden report hearing highlights sharp partisan divide in the U.S. Congress.
In sports, JFF recalls John Wall as national under-20 football coach and installs Jerome Waite as his successor.
And later in our broadcast this evening, the Finance Minister, Dr. Nigel Clark, opened the budget debate in the House this afternoon. He says the government is expected to implement an unemployment insurance scheme.
I'm happy to report, Madam Speaker, that macro stability makes it feasible for Jamaica to have an unemployment insurance scheme that benefits Jamaican workers.
And from now on until 8 this evening, we'll assess what we heard in the budget from the Finance Minister. And at 8 this evening, it's Prescription for Life with Dr. Andre MacDonald.
And at 9 p.m., it's Affairs of the Heart with Rodney Campbell. Tonight's topic, who is the modern-day Jamaican man?
All these and more as we take you home on air, on your mobile, Nationwide 90 FM, Nationwide Radio, jm.com, and on the Nationwide app, available in Google Play and the App Store. This Tuesday evening, it's Tuesday, March 12, 2024.
If it's news, it's got to be Nationwide 90 FM.
Now to the details. The Finance Minister, Dr. Nigel Clark, says this year's budget was crafted to ensure the people of Jamaica benefit from the hard-won macroeconomic gains. Dr. Clark told the country that the Holness administration is listening to the concerns of the Jamaican people as he opened the 24-25 budget debate in the House of Representatives. Siobhan Campbell tells us more.
A budget for the people. That's the message Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark delivered in the opening of the budget debate on Tuesday. The Finance Minister says the multiple achievements made on the macroeconomic front are not sufficient if the average Jamaican does not benefit.
Now, Madam Speaker, economic stability is very important, as my constituent rightly acknowledged. It must be achieved and preserved, but it is not an end in itself. Rather, it must deliver for the people, not just the connected or the powerful or the well-organized. Rather, it must deliver for all the people of Jamaica.
It's clear the Holness administration is aware of the many grievances expressed by Jamaicans in the run-up to the local government elections. Dr. Clark says the current budget has been crafted to address many of these pain points.
Madam Speaker, I'd like to use this opportunity to speak directly to my constituent who gave me such good advice, as well as to all Jamaicans. We hear you loud and clear. This government, headed by the most Honourable Prime Minister Andrew Holness, is a listening government. Madam Speaker, we listen to the people. And let me say very clearly that what is important to you is also very important to us.
The Finance Minister says the Holness administration and no other is best placed to ensure Jamaicans benefit from their hard-won fiscal gains.
We will preserve economic stability. Best place to do that. Madam Speaker, we will improve economic stability. We're best placed to do that. And Madam Speaker, we will also leverage economic stability in the people's interest. We are best placed to do that. It is abundantly clear, however, Madam Speaker, the people of Jamaica want even more from us as a government. The people of Jamaica want to know and feel that they're benefiting and participating more directly from the macroeconomic advances that we have made in a manner that improves their lives. Madam Speaker, this has always been our commitment, and we have a strong track record of quality of life improving achievements that support this.
Siobhan Campbell for Nationwide News.
Meanwhile, the finance minister has announced that the income tax threshold will be moved to $1.7 million effective April 1. That's an increase of $200,000.
We're not able to deliver the large increase in the threshold in one go for the reasons mentioned earlier. But, Madam Speaker, that doesn't mean that we can't do it little by little. Little by little. Like little by little. Because they're expensive things. Right? And it's not little either. So, what do you say about that? Right? Step by step. What do you say about that? Right? Step by step. Step by step, Madam Speaker. So, Madam Speaker, in the context of everything else that we have announced, Madam Speaker, I'm announcing that effective April 2024, the income tax threshold on personal income tax will move from $1.5 million to $1.7 million, Madam Speaker.
Dr. Clark says the government will also adjust age relief exemption threshold for pensioners. This will be increased from $80,000 to $250,000.
Government remains committed to ensuring the adequacy of our social protection system, and we recognize significant financial challenges faced by individuals who went before us. We honor you, we respect you, we love you, and we are here for you. As such, Madam Speaker, in an effort to provide further protection for this vulnerable group, it is proposed that the annual pension exemption and the age relief exemption be both increased from $80,000 to $250,000. Madam Speaker, the pensioner aged 65 years and over will now enjoy a total income tax threshold of $2,176, Madam Speaker.
The finance minister also announced a reverse tax credit for anyone earning below $3 million of $20,000 at the end of each financial year.
I'm pleased to announce the implementation of a reverse tax credit for all Jamaicans, Madam Speaker, who contribute to the system, contribute statutories and otherwise, Madam Speaker, and earn under $3 million and under. This government, Madam Speaker, will provide for them a reverse tax credit, Madam Speaker, a tax credit, cash credit of $20,000.
Dr. Nigel Clark, Minister of Finance and the Public Service.
And he wasn't finished. He says the government will abolish the need for a guarantor to obtain a loan from the Students' Loan Bureau, the SLB. The new policy will come into effect in April.
The day before the local government election, I met a member of my constituency. She told me that her son had graduated from Jose Marti in 2019, and she wanted him to go to university. She said to me, "Them tell me that I don't earn enough to be a guarantor for my son. I want to be the first to say to them live and direct that come April 1st, there'll be no guarantors required for student loan." Under this policy, Malik will be the first in his family, the son of an ice cream shop customer service rep, to go to university because of the policy change that I'm talking about today.
Dr. Clark also sought to assure the Jamaican people that this policy would be properly secured through a new guarantor reserve fund. The finance minister also announced that the first 4,200 beneficiaries will qualify for a free grant of $60,000 upon the approval of their loans.
Since inception, the Student Loan Bureau uses a very tiny fraction of repayment to make provisions for loss of life. of the borough. And this fund was actuarially assessed and found to have more than $1 billion in excess of what it needs to have to ensure the risk that it has. With this new guarantor policy, we'll move this $1 billion excess from the life insurance reserve, which you don't need in that position, into a new guarantor reserve fund to back this new policy. All right, what is more, Madam Speaker, is that Malik, along with 4,199 other beneficiaries, will qualify for a free grant of $60,000 on loan approval. 4,200 grants of $60,000 each.
And Dr. Clark says the time has come for Jamaicans to now benefit from an unemployment insurance scheme. An unemployment insurance scheme refers to a program that provides financial coverage for persons in case they lose their jobs. Nora Gay Banton reports.
According to Dr. Clark, his ministry is expected to sign a $20 million loan agreement with the World Bank to implement an unemployment insurance scheme in Jamaica.
So, Madam Speaker, we have a lot of things, right? We are expecting to sign, I believe it's a $20 million loan agreement with the World Bank, where they'll provide the Ministry of Labour and Social Security with the technical support to implement unemployment insurance. And the World Bank will assist us with many things, including the legislative architecture, the institutional mechanisms, the administrative arrangements for unemployment insurance. And Minister Charles will have charge of this leg. My leg was the feasibility, Madam Speaker. Minister Charles's leg is to implement with the support of the Ministry of Finance. And while we work on the funding model and refining the funding model and optimizing the efficiency, consolidating statutory deductions and so on in the manner described.
Dr. Clark says employees who contribute to the National Insurance Scheme, NIS, will be automatically included in the plan. He says once it's confirmed that an employee has been terminated, the individual would become eligible to receive an unemployment benefit. That benefit would represent a specific percentage of their previous weekly income over a fixed period of time. Meanwhile, the finance minister says the government plans to consolidate all statutory deductions, including the insurance scheme, into a single deduction.
Jamaica has a plethora of separate statutory deductions. We have NHT, we have NIS, we have HART, we have EdTax, and adding a fifth, replicating the collection, processing, and enforcement administration, and adding further complexity for small business is not optimal for employees. As such, we are looking into administratively consolidating these statutory deductions into a single deduction. The major advantage of consolidation, Madam Speaker, in the context of introducing a new benefit like unemployment insurance, is that initial calculations show that we could potentially introduce this benefit without increasing the headline statutory deduction rate and with no additional cost for up to 95% of persons enrolled in national insurance.
Dr. Clark says after 60 years of successive governments deliberating on the unemployment insurance scheme, the time has come for it to become a reality.
The Andrew Holness government is here to fulfill the vision of the founding fathers of Jamaica. It was the vision, Madam Speaker, of opposition and government of the 1960s that unemployment insurance is an inextricable part of social security. But for 50 years or longer, this eluded the Jamaican people. We're going to be using economic stability, Madam Speaker, to bring benefits to the people in the form of unemployment insurance. 60 years later, Madam Speaker, time come. Time come.
Nora Gay Banton for Nationwide News.
And the finance minister says in order to deliver services to the Jamaican people, the country's public procurement system must be fixed and red tape reduced. He says the government will be increasing the threshold below which single-source procurement is allowed from $1.5 million to $3 million for goods and services.
But, Madam Speaker, if we are to leverage macro stability in the people's interests and to contemplate $1 trillion of public investment over 5 years, to resolve the society's pain points, including big ones for this year, these considerations are very important. I'm not coming with a prescription, but I'm putting it out there, Madam Speaker. We have to look at the Cabinet's role in the procurement process. There is good reason why maybe there should be no role, or maybe that you set the threshold so high hundreds of procurements that are coming through Cabinet. Cabinet has become a procurement office. It's not efficient. And it's something that we, as having policy responsibility for procurement and putting it out, that is something that we have to change in a major way.
The mandatory standstill period of 10 days between the date of a procurement decision and the date of award will be abolished for all but the largest procurement awards. The Finance Minister says this will have the effect of reducing delays and speeding up the pace at which the government can deliver for the people. Dr. Clark says the adjustments in public procurement will allow the government to double its capital expenditure over the next 5 years.
We have reviewed the Procurement Act and we're going to be proposing some amendments to the legal and institutional framework, and we need to get it through the system quickly. For example, Madam Speaker, in the case of contracts for goods and services, we'll be increasing the threshold below which single-source procurement is permissible from $1.5 million to $3 million, Madam Speaker. The $1.5 million threshold has been in place for almost a decade. And for works, it will go from $2 million to $5 million. Madam Speaker, in addition, we're going to be moving the limits required for public procurement committee approval from $30 million to at least $60 million.
Dr. Nigel Clark, the Minister of Finance and the Public Service. You're listening to Nationwide News. More news after these.
Time to pay your tax? Relax! You've got this with your Sagicor Bank Business Credit Card. Use your Sagicor Bank Business Credit Card to pay your taxes and get a 1-month payment holiday. New cardholders get first-year annual fee waived. Plus, you get up to 55 days interest-free and earn unlimited reward points every time you spend. So when you're ready to pay your tax, relax! You've got this. Use your Sagicor Bank Business Credit Card and enjoy the best rewards ever. Conditions apply.
Continuing the news, Nationwide News understands that the Police Service Commission has confirmed Dr. Kevin Blake as the country's next Commissioner of Police. A formal announcement is expected on Wednesday. Dr. Blake is the Deputy Commissioner in charge of Force Development and Logistics. He succeeds Major General Anthony Anderson, whose second 3-year term ends on March 18. Dr. Blake came out ahead of fellow Deputy Commissioners Fitz Bailey, Clifford Blake and Richard Stewart. He will be the country's 15th Police Commissioner since 1973, the first time a Jamaican was appointed to the role.
A curfew is now in effect in sections of Grange Hill in Westmoreland. This as the police intensify their search for persons of interest implicated in the ongoing gang war between the King Valley and the emerging Ants Posse gangs. The violence has resulted in the killing of 5 people since Saturday. The latest killing occurred on Monday when a man was shot while riding his motorcycle. Commanding officer for the Area 1 Police, Assistant Commissioner Clifford Chambers, says the areas under curfew include Racecourse, Crowder, Geneva, Mint Road, and Top Lincoln.
What we have done, since we do now have a curfew from last night in the general area, we have deployed a number of police in the space. We are also conducting vehicular checkpoint. We have deliberate roadblock. We have snap raids and several other operational activities now unfolding in the particular space.
ACP Chambers has also listed several persons of interest being targeted by the police in connection with a surge in violence. According to him, these violence influencers are fueling crime in the area.
They are Demar Thomas, OC Heavy D, our OC Dog, Romaine Murray, OC Bartes, LaShawn Warren, OC Dudeman, Orlando Reed, OC Bello, Charlton Dixon, Kenneal White, OC Grabber, and Leon Gray. Anyone having any information on the whereabouts of these persons should call 311-811 or the crime officer for the Westmoreland Division at 333-9558 or even the commanding officer for the Westmoreland Division at 822-6840.
ACP Clifford Chambers, commanding officer for Area 1.
And the gang war in Grange Hill triggered the closure today of 2 schools. ACP Chambers says school resource officers have been deployed to both schools after classes were dismissed earlier today.
We have deployed a contingent of school resource officers headed by a deputy superintendent to go to the Grange Hill Primary, go to the Grange Hill High School and the interface, and to have discourse with the students and with the teachers, principal, guidance counselor, and just about everyone else. So there's no threat on any school, but we're aware that the area is having some criminal activities, and so we have done the necessary deployment to bring things under control.
The ongoing gang violence forced the closure of Grange Hill Primary and Grange Hill High schools. Grange Hill High suspended classes at 10 a.m. following discussions with the school board chairman, the Ministry of Education and the police. Principal Trevine Donaldson Lawrence says classes will revert to an online modality until further notice. ACP Chambers says police investigations have not shown that schools in the area are under threat.
What happened this morning was a shooting incident on a vehicle transporting persons, and based on the investigation so far, it's a vehicle that was moving and shots were fired on the vehicle. There's no indication at this stage to indicate that the shooters know who are in the vehicle, but unfortunately, one of the person in the vehicle was a student. Now, that information was later provided to the school, and so it might have been presumed that the school were under threat. Let me categorically say, no school in and around the area is under threat.
ACP Clifford Chambers, commanding officer for the Area 1 Police.
The 40 elected councillors of the Kingston and St. Andrew Municipal Corporation were sworn in at its offices on Church Street in Kingston today. The PNP's Andrew Swaby, councillor for the Vineyard Town Division, was installed as chairman of the corporation and mayor of Kingston. His deputy is a former mayor, councillor for the Seavright Gardens Division, the GLP's Delroy Williams. Shalois Michael reports.
Hundreds of supporters, clad in their party colours, orange and green, gathered at the KCMC's office to witness and celebrate the swearing-in of their respective councillors. The ceremony saw 20 representatives of both the PNP and the JLP standing individually and vowing to do their best by the people in their divisions across the 2 parishes. The PNP, who won the popular vote in the elections, had the honour of naming Andrew Swaby as mayor of the capital city. In his official speech, the newly installed mayor pledged to serve the KCMC with the help of his colleagues on both sides of the floor.
Today, I recommit myself to remain humble at all times and to serve the people of Kingston and St. Andrew with honesty and integrity. Today, I charge my colleague councillors on both sides of the political divide to do the same. Together, we will use our knowledge, skills, and experience to bring about meaningful change and development to the benefit of all who live, work, and do business in Kingston and St. Andrew. Yes.
Mayor Swaby says the first order of business is to meet with the various stakeholders in a bid to hear their concerns and serve them better.
Over the next 3 months, we'll be meeting with various stakeholders, including the private sector organizations of Jamaica, the Jamaica Chambers of Commerce, developers, citizens' rights to the city, vendors, and other interest groups to air their concerns. We believe it's important that we listen to the people in order to serve them better.
For his part, Minister of Local Government and Rural Development Desmond McKenzie charged the councillors to be committed to their sworn duties.
I want to say today that at the end of the term, there will be no winners in this exercise. When the people of the corporate area are the winners. We have a responsibility, and when I say we, I speak as a former councillor and the minister with responsibility, that we must be committed in ensuring that we offer proper service to the people of Kingston and St. Andrew.
Shalois Michael for Nationwide News.
Meanwhile, the Jamaica Labour Party says it strongly condemns the brawl between supporters of the two major political parties during the swearing-in of councillors of the Kingston and St. Andrew Municipal Corporation this afternoon. In a video circulating on social media, party supporters are seen throwing chairs and shouting at each other. They were gathered under tents in front of the corporation's Church Street offices, where they followed the proceedings on screens. In a statement issued to the media, JLP General Secretary Dr. Horace Chang says the incident was unfortunate and a display of intolerance and disrespect. He says the outburst disrupts and undermines the democratic process and called on the People's National Party to assist with repairing the breach.
And the PNP says it condemns the regrettable incidents that unfolded. The party says it emphasizes its commitment to a democratic and inclusive political environment free from hostility. The party's General Secretary, Dr. Dayton Campbell, says the PNP stands firm against political tribalism and condemns any form of violence or aggression. He says it's crucial to uphold the principles of democracy and ensure that political gatherings remain platforms for dialogue rather than arenas of conflict.
World in a Minute is brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC.
Hose Assembly and Supply Limited, equipping Jamaica for success.
The World in a Minute.
Bahamas' Minister of Energy, JoBeth Colby Davis, says the Bahamas Power and Light Company, BPL, has over $500 million in debt. Minister Colby Davis was making her contribution to the 2023-2024 mid-year budget debate in the House of Assembly recently. She explained that BPL operates 29 power stations on 17 islands and that over the next 5 years the company will need an investment of over $500 million to upgrade its infrastructure. This includes $300 million in new generation in New Providence and the Family Islands. It also includes $35 million that is expected to be spent in advanced infrastructure. The Energy Minister explained that the government's plan has components, each of which is necessary to deliver lower prices, increased reliability, and cleaner sources of energy to citizens.
World in a Minute was brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC.
Hose Assembly and Supply Limited, equipping Jamaica for success.
Recapping the top stories in nationwide news at this hour. A budget for the people. That's the message from the Finance Minister, Dr. Nigel Clark, as he opened the budget debate in Parliament today.
Economic stability is very important. It must be achieved and preserved, but it is not an end in itself. It must deliver for all the people of Jamaica.
Dr. Clark announced that income tax threshold will move from $1.5 to $1.7 million.
And for pensioners over 65, income tax threshold will move to $2 million.
For those over 55, the threshold will move to $1.75 million.
Also, a reverse tax credit is coming for PAYE earners who take home less than $3 million. I'm Cliff Hughes.
And I'm Robianne Williams.
You can find the news on our website at nationwideradiojm.com and on the Nationwide app available on Google Play and the App Store. News next tomorrow morning at 6.
The Consumer Affairs Commission is requesting that persons who have not yet collected their bad gas ex gratia payment to kindly visit the Commission's website at cac.gov.jm to see if their name is on the list. The final date to make contact is Friday, March 28, 2024. For further information, call the Consumer Affairs Commission at 876-619-4222 or visit us at 34 Trafalgar Road, Kingston 10. The Consumer Affairs Commission, protecting your rights, securing our future.
Go crazy for this offer from Flow. Get a free Samsung phone and earbuds when you sign up for Flow Yard and Road for the special price of $4,999 plus GCT. Free is all the craze. This crazy offer won't last long. Visit discoverflow.co or your nearest Flow store for more info. Conditions apply.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to Sports here on Nationwide 90 FM. I'm Wayne Walker. The West Indies Regional Men's 4-Day Competition resumes tomorrow with the start of Round 4 action in 3 territories. Jamaica will be under a new leader after Brandon King was named to replace Jermaine Blackwood as captain of the team after only 3 games in the season. With 2 defeats and a victory, Jamaica will be aiming to get their campaign back on track when they face the West Indies Academy at Savannah Park. That game set to bowl off at 10 in the morning. In other 4th round games starting tomorrow, leaders and unbeaten Windward Islands Volcanoes, they'll play away to the Trinidad and Tobago Red Forest at Queen's Park Oval in Port of Spain. Champions, the Guyana Harpy Eagles versus Barbados Pride at Coolidge Ground in Antigua. And the Leeward Islands Hurricanes will take on the combined campuses at the Sir Frank Warren Memorial Ground in Trinidad and Tobago. And Jamaica will go in search of their 5th straight win at the West Indies CG United Women's Super 50 Cup competition in St. Kitts tomorrow. The Stephanie Taylor-led team will face Guyana at St. Paul's starting at 9 Jamaica time. Jamaica has won all 4 of its games so far, and victory over the Guyanese could all but seal the championships. Jamaica leads the points table with 24 points, and they're followed by defending champions Barbados, the distant second with 14 points. Now Guyana third and 13. The Windward Islands are 4th with 10 points. There's a shake-up in the national under-20 men's football coaching setup. John Wall, who had been in charge of the program for the past year, has been recalled by the JFF to the national senior team to join head coach Heimer Hallgrimsson. Wall's substantive duties when he first joined the JFF was the first assistant to Hallgrimsson, but he was asked to take charge of the youth program because of his experience and success coaching at that level. Wall is also the FIFA development, a talent development scheme manager for Jamaica. Tivoli Gardens Premier League coach Jerome Waite will now take charge of the national under-20 team. Waite is no stranger to the national program, having held positions at the under-20, under-23 and senior levels.
It's a good feeling to be back, and we're looking forward to great accomplishment. As you know, it's the final round of the World Cup qualifiers, so it will be a challenge, but it's all about taking up such challenge and make things happen.
Wall successfully guided Jamaica into the final round of the CONCACAF Under-20 World Cup qualifying during the recent Caribbean tournament in St. Kitts. The Young Reggae Boys will go into the CONCACAF Championship final round World Cup qualifiers in June in Mexico.
They have done well in the first phase of the competition, and as you all know, the real competition now is the final stage with the big boys. One of the most important things going forward is to get them to understand this international level, and it's about minimizing your mistakes, because most of these players who are playing for their countries are professional players, and they have had a lot of playing time at the top flight. So it will be a challenge, but I'm looking forward to it.
Jerome Waite. Finally in sports at this time, former champions Barcelona and English Premier League leaders Arsenal punched their tickets to the quarterfinals of the European Champions League following second round legs of their round of 16 ties. Barcelona beat the Italian champions Napoli 3-1 at the Nou Camp to advance 4-2 on aggregate, while Arsenal were taken all the way before beating 2004 winners FC Porto 4-2 on penalties. The two-way tie ended 1-1 on aggregate after Leandro Trossard scored for the Gunners to cancel out Porto's 1-0 first leg victory. The last 2 quarterfinalists will be decided on Wednesday when Inter Milan takes a 1-0 first leg lead to Spain to face Atletico Madrid, while in Germany Borussia Dortmund and PSV Eindhoven will try to break their 1-1 deadlock. That's sports.
Bun to me cheese, bun to me cheese. Give me yummy. Bun to me cheese, bun to me cheese. Give me yummy. Don't stop at just a one slice, please. No other bun, perfect for me. Give me yummy. For real Jamaican flavor and quality for sure this Easter. Make yummy the bun to your cheese. Yummy. Give me yummy. Yummy. Give me yummy. For the Easter. Yummy bun zeta. Yummy for me family. Yummy for me, sir. Bun to me cheese, bun to me cheese. Give me yummy. Bun to me cheese. Bun to me cheese. Best bun. Give me yummy.
Time to pay your tax? Relax! You've got this with your Sagicor Bank Business Credit Card. Use your Sagicor Bank Business Credit Card to pay your taxes and get a 1-month payment holiday. New cardholders get first-year annual fee waived. Plus, you get up to 55 days interest-free and earn unlimited reward points every time you spend. So when you're ready to pay your tax, relax! You've got this. Use your Sagicor Bank Business Credit Card and enjoy the best rewards ever. Conditions apply.
Did you know that many of my schoolmates have an unhealthy diet, especially at school? And now 23% of them are overweight and or obese? And so one less sugary drink at my school may mean one friend less,
or 2 or 3,
at risk of cavities or diabetes. And if we're served less foods high in saturated fats, sugar and sodium, it may reduce our risk from obesity, heart disease and high blood pressure.
The solution is simple, right? Act now.
Let's get unhealthy foods and beverages out of our schools.
A message from the Heart Foundation of Jamaica and partners.
Welcome Deluxe, the cream cracker that rises to the top. So crisp, so light, so buttery. When you're good, you're just good. Hey, had the national flavor. You go off and buy this bag. So good, it's just so good. Welcome Deluxe, the cream cracker that rises to the top. So crisp, so light, so buttery. National Baking Company, just so good.
Home is where you put down your roots. So at Sagicor Bank, we designed a mortgage with everything you need to own your home easier. Get up to 100% financing, fast processing time, up to $100,000 cash back to assist with expenses, a competitive interest rate, plus an unsecured loan of up to $2 million to go solar at home, and a special rate on home insurance. Let's help you put down your roots. Call 888-SAGICOR to apply for your Sagicor Bank mortgage. Conditions apply.
Go crazy for this offer from Flow. Get a free Samsung phone and earbuds when you sign up for Flow Yard and Road for the special price of $4,999 plus GCT. Free is all the craze. This crazy offer won't last long. Visit discoverflow.co or your nearest Flow store for more info. Conditions apply.
Welcome Deluxe, the cream cracker that rises to the top. So crisp, so light, so buttery. When you're good, you're just good. Hey, had the national flavor. You go off and buy this bag. So good, it's just so good. Welcome Deluxe, the cream cracker that rises to the top. So crisp, so light, so buttery. National Baking Company, just so good.
Does your bra ride up your back? Do your shoulders hurt from carrying the weight of your breasts? These are signs of an ill-fitting bra. When was the last time you were fitted by a bra fit specialist? The bra experts at LaBelle Femme will take care of you. Drop into the store at 53 Lady Musgrave Road, Tuesdays to Saturdays from 10 to 5, and you will see the difference. Or call 876-622-6091.
Go crazy for this offer from Flow. Get a free Samsung phone and earbuds when you sign up for Flow Yard and Road for the special price of $4,999 plus GCT. Free is all the craze. This crazy offer won't last long. Visit discoverflow.co or your nearest Flow store for more info. Conditions apply.
JampJA.org. Mind the business JA with Jamp Online. Are your business? They keep your government in line.
Funded by the European Union and the UK International Development.
Stand out among competitors. Show your commitment to quality. Submit your entry in the Bureau of Standards Jamaica National Quality Awards Program. Your entry provides the opportunity for a free comprehensive assessment of your organization's management system and facilitates improvement in effectiveness and efficiency. This prestigious award associates your organization with performance excellence. Step into a world of excellence. Gain access to international markets. Enter today.
Call 618-1534. The Bureau of Standards Jamaica, making standards work for you.
I've been hearing about this constitutional reform thing. You know anything about it?
Yes, constitutional reform is a chance for us to Jamaicanize the constitution.
But how?
Enough things changed since 1962 and we have matured as a nation. So modernizing the constitution will reflect our current societal values.
Oh, a constitution for Jamaicans, approved by Jamaicans.
Are you ready for the journey? Join us on the road to Republic. Think independence, think Republic. A message from the Ministry of Legal and Constitutional Affairs.
Time to pay your tax? Relax! You've got this with your Sagicor Bank Business Credit Card. Use your Sagicor Bank Business Credit Card to pay your taxes and get a 1-month payment holiday. New cardholders get first-year annual fee waived. Plus, you get up to 55 days interest-free and earn unlimited reward points every time you spend. So when you're ready to pay your tax, relax! You've got this. Use your Sagicor Bank Business Credit Card and enjoy the best rewards ever. Conditions apply.
Did you know that many of my schoolmates have an unhealthy diet, especially at school? And now 23% of them are overweight and or obese? And so one less sugary drink at my school may mean one friend less,
or 2 or 3,
at risk of cavities or diabetes. And if we're served less foods high in saturated fats, sugar and sodium, it may reduce our risk from obesity, heart disease and high blood pressure.
The solution is simple, right? Act now.
Let's get unhealthy foods and beverages out of our schools.
A message from the Heart Foundation of Jamaica and partners.
Super Center, everything for your home and more.
And we mean everything, not just houseware and appliances. At Zan Super Center, we have furniture too. Furniture for your living room, dining room, bedroom, kitchen, and more. Low on cash? At Zan Super Center, we have layaway plans. Don't delay. Come in today.
Zan Super Center, we're gonna make you smile. Zan Super Center, it's a lifestyle.
It's a lifestyle. Yes, me get the last cheese.
Taste the beat. Brothers and sisters, at the end of Easter service, we have cheese. Taste the beat. But one day we get no bun and cheese. Taste the beat. Serve, sell me some bun and cheese. Taste the beat. Why, this will go nice with some tasty cheese. Taste the beat. Could I have some cheese, please? Taste the beat. Make we get on real bad with the tasty cheese, boy. Taste the beat with tasty cheese.
Good evening, good evening. Thank you so much for staying with us here nationwide at 5. It's a budget day, and the Finance Minister, Dr. Nigel Clark, opened the budget. I'm Cliff Hughes.
And I'm Siobhan Campbell.
And he started at approximately what time, Siobhan?
I believe the budget presentation started roughly 30 minutes after 2.
Yes, 2:30 in the afternoon. And he ended at about...
Minutes after 5?
No!
Minutes to 6?
After 6.
I was so engrossed I lost track of time.
So he went on for at least 3.5, 4 hours. Yes? And we're going to assess, react to what we heard this afternoon into the evening from Dr. Nigel Clark. We have a panel here in our studios as well as on the phone. And let me begin by introducing... Mr. Mitre Siaga, yes. Ms. Mitre Siaga is the president of the private sector organization of Jamaica. We also have economist Keenan Faulkner, the president of the Micro, Small and Medium Enterprise MSME Alliance, Donovan Wignall. We also have public commentator and chartered accountant Dennis Chung. And on the phone, we have with us Managing Director of A. Peart Advisory Services and tax expert, Alison Peart, as well as economist and financial analyst, Dr. Adrian Stokes, okay, on the phone as well. So let me begin by going around the room quickly for your initial reactions. Mr. President, Mitre Siaga.
Thank you, Cliff. And welcome to your listeners. I thought it was a good budget. I thought that the minister gave us a few nuggets. There were some things that, first of all, I think we need to recognize how fortunate a position we are in that we are talking about a ninth consecutive year of a budget being read and there are no new taxes. That's just an amazing thing for me as a businessman in Jamaica for the last 35 years.
That's unprecedented.
It is unprecedented. Normally we sit around the radio and listen to a budget debate to hear what new taxes are coming and to see how we're going to survive in our businesses with the new taxes. So to have no new taxes again is a great move. The minister did say that he has heard the cry of the people and that the macroeconomic stability is not reaching them, and he was going to put some things in place. I think he did so today. I was very happy that he increased the threshold from 1.5 to 1.7. He gave back something to the students at the Students' Loan Bureau.
No guarantors?
No guarantors, a grant of $60,000. Unemployment insurance, I think, was a really big deal. I think that people who lose their jobs for whatever reason need to have that level of security.
Yeah.
The details are to come, but I think that's a great thing. The reverse tax of people earning under $3 million, again, I thought was very positive. The removal of GCT on raw foods, we have to see how that one plays out. Pensioner threshold being moved to $2 million effectively.
And they haven't had a movement since 2009.
2009.
15 years.
Just unacceptable.
Yeah.
I think that's good for people who are not earning or who have earnings only through that income. And finally, the move on the junior market exchange capital allowance from 500 to 750 million was a positive move. So I think, all in all, there were no new taxes, and for that we are grateful as a business community. And I think that the minister gave back some nuggets that we can hold on to. And finally, he did announce that there was going to be significant investment, the largest period of investment we have seen by the government ever in the history of Jamaica. So we're looking forward to that. We're looking forward to how it affects the economy, and we remain steadfast in our thought that the only way to go is to grow our economy.
Well, let me hear the voice of the Medium and Small Business Enterprise Alliance. Donovan Wignall, you're the president.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Hughes, and good evening to your listeners. I think it was a responsible budget. I went in there with the expectation of a little bit more, theatrics. It's coming towards the election, and I didn't say that. But what I saw was a well thought out budget. It hit most of the areas. It was housekeeping for the government, the public sector, and for the private sector, we got a few things. He addressed a few issues. Metri spoke about them a while ago. I think the one with the pensioners, I think that's a big one. That's something that, I thought that was absolutely good. The unemployment insurance, that's another good one. The student loan, no guarantor, that's also something to speak about. I was looking for something on low-income housing, which I didn't hear, and I hope that will be addressed sometime soon, because I think that is something that that's one of the pain points that I think was missed. But he started out and saying, the macro variables have been addressed. We now have to look at the pain points of the people, and I think he succeeded in doing this with this budget. Let's see how it pans out. A comment was made prior to us coming inside here, I won't make it yet, about keeping the Minister of Finance for whichever...
Well, you let the puss out of the bag. Tell them. Metri, you tell them what you told us coming inside here.
Listen, I agree.
Yeah, listen, when I see Nigel speak as the Minister of Finance, I am comforted by the fact that he is measured, he is reliable, and he doesn't talk about flying the gate. Yes. He speaks about walking and chewing gum at the same time. It's just responsible, and I said tongue-in-cheek that it would be nice that whoever wins the next election, that Nigel Clark stays as the Minister of Finance.
Well, let me bring in on the phone, we have Dr. Adrian Stokes. Dr. Stokes, your reaction.
It's clear that the government is constraining itself, Cliff, by sticking to fiscal responsibility. The key issue of reducing the debt in a sustainable way underpins everything that government is doing.
Can you speak up a little bit more for me, Dr. Stokes? We're hardly hearing you. Yeah.
Yes, so I'm saying the key issue of reducing the debt in a sustainable way underpins everything that the government is doing. And what I see is a delicate balancing act of maintaining fiscal responsibility, but making smart investments in key areas like infrastructure and catering to those at the base of the income ladder. The government, however, Cliff, faces, from my view, a very tricky problem with the size of the country's wage bill. The wage bill is now 48% of tax revenues and approximately 12.6% of GDP. In fact, if you look at the change in tax revenues or the increase in tax revenues going into the new fiscal year, tax revenue is projected to increase by $68 billion. And the government effectively will have to give nearly half of that increase to public sector wages. And with this sizable chunk of tax revenues going to wages, the fiscal space to do anything else in the budget is being significantly curtailed. And I want to highlight that because not many persons are actually seeing what's happening with this wage bill. And it's taking us back to a situation that we were in over 10 years ago when the country went off a fiscal cliff. That the wage bill is something and
Hello, Dr. Stokes.
Important things in the budget.
We lost you for a moment there. You said 10 years ago when we went off a fiscal cliff, notwithstanding present company.
Yes. I was making a point that the size of the wage bill is something that we have to pay close attention to because it is trending back to a level. It is now 48% of tax revenues, which is massive, right? And as I indicated before, tax revenues, the delta for tax revenues for the new fiscal year relative to the last one is $68 billion. And $38 billion of that will go to paying wages, an additional $38 billion to pay wages, right? So the wage bill, as I see it, and going forward, and the minister, to my mind, didn't really talk a lot about that. But for me, that is, apart from a good budget and the fact that the macroeconomy is stable, but that the wage bill is a clear and present danger and something that we have to come to grips with.
And the other side of that, Dr. Stokes, increase or lack thereof in productivity of the public sector.
Well, you've hit the nail on the head. With such a massive increase, nearly $200 billion in a short period of time, and there hasn't been any real transformation as it relates to productivity, then we have a problem. And the finance minister at some point in time will have to address this in a real way.
Yes. Dennis Chung, let me hear you. Your reaction to the budget?
So I'm going to look at it from a more philosophical perspective. I mean, everyone has spoken about the nuggets in there. For me, I can understand as an accountant the approach. So you cannot do anything for people unless you are stable. And therefore, the first few years that we looked at was really stabilizing the foundation. A tree can't grow if the roots are not firm. And I think that is what happened over the past few years. And this happened within the context of not only stabilizing the financial foundation, but you bring in a shift in the thinking when you talk about not imposing new taxes. Metri spoke about how refreshing it is for a business person. I remember the years between 1989 and 2015 when a business person would say, I wonder if I can afford business next year. And that shift in the mindset, I think, was very important. I understand also the increase in wages. It's also a shift in mindset about saying, hey, we need to now pay people more. We're going to ask for more productivity, right? But we need to pay people more. If you look at the budget, the budget is one of clearing the way from nuisances. So when he speaks about, well, you know, people, this $100, $50 to $100, which is 0.5%, why are we spending so much administrative time trying to collect a tax, right, that it is costing us more? When he spoke about removing the limitations on the procurement, right, when he speaks about putting money in the hands of people, that is creating a climate for persons now to go out and be more productive. Because there's nothing wrong with Jamaicans, you know. Jamaicans go in a different environment and they produce a lot more. The problem that we have when he speaks about capital infrastructure, we have not created the environment over the years for people to be productive, right? And that is what I think the context of this budget is. And I think that it's a well thought out budget, you know. And if you look at it, it's more, in the years, remember when we used to brace for new taxes, you understand that this budget has actually just given everything back, really, right? And that's because of the foundation that we set. So the budget, as I see, if you look at it building up over the 8 years, it has been setting us up more and more for a more productive society. And that, I think, is a key message that we need to get from this. And also, I hope that people are getting the message that, listen, we can't turn back from here and go back to where we are, right? We need to make sure that we continue on this path. He's saying step by step, but I'm saying step up by step up, right, until we get to the top of the mountain.
We're up on our first break. After the break, we bring in Keenan Faulkner, economist, as well as tax expert Alison Peart. After the break.
The Leaders Conference of Choice is back on site at the Jamaica Pegasus Hotel and online. Register now for Middle Managers Leadership Conference. Call 876-978-6001-2 or visit www.makeyourmarkgroup.com. Sponsored by Make Your Mark Group, Caledonia Outdoor Advertising, Jamaica Pegasus Hotel, JPS, Intelligent Multimedia Limited, Monographic Printers, Main Event Entertainment Group, Nationwide News Network, and Visual Tech Solutions. Middle Managers Conference, May 1 to 2, 2024. Sign up at www.makeyourmarkgroup.com.
Home is where you put down your roots. So at Sagicor Bank, we designed a mortgage with everything you need to own your home easier. Get up to 100% financing, fast processing time, up to $100,000 cash back to assist with expenses, a competitive interest rate, plus an unsecured loan of up to $2 million to go solar at home, and a special rate on home insurance. Let's help you put down your roots. Call 888 Sagicor to apply for your Sagicor Bank mortgage. Conditions apply.
Welcome back. You're listening to Nationwide at 5. It's budget day as we go through the highlights and getting reactions to Nigel Clark's budget presentation, which will kick off 2 weeks of budget debates. We have with us in the studio the Chartered Accountant Dennis Chung, President of the Private Sector Organization of Jamaica, Metri Siaga, along with the President of the Micro, Small and Medium Enterprise Alliance, Donovan Wignall, and Accountant Keenan Faulkner. We also have on the phone with us another economist, that would be Dr. Adrian Stokes, and tax expert Alison Peart. So, Keenan Faulkner, economist, what did you make of the budget presentation today?
Yeah, so I think it was sober, it was analytical. There wasn't any excessive polemicism in the presentation. I think overall it did well to articulate the fiscal policy direction of the government, and it did a good job in really managing expectations. So you could see the effort in trying to be as balanced as possible to maintain that ethos of fiscal sustainability. And, it was mentioned some of the less, big ticket items like the procurement, I guess it's not as exciting as it is to the general public, but these are important for actually clearing bottlenecks. The procurement, you're talking about performance management in the public sector as well in order to increase productivity. You're talking about other measures that were deliberately targeted, and that's the nature of those measures that are especially designed to help the persons at the lower end of the scale, the most vulnerable. It's all about targeting it to those people. It can't be that you are trying to help persons who don't need it the most, and then the persons who do need it the most are not getting what they should be getting. So overall, I think, even in Minister Clark's 6 budget presentations, this would be his 6th. That has been the leitmotif of the fiscal policy direction that he is taking under this administration for all of that time. And it was really a continuation of that. We speak about fiscal responsibility, we talk about meeting the targets, and you could see that overall the effort is trying to maintain this direction that we're in while also giving back as much as we can. When we look at the threshold, for example, of course, everybody was listening out for more on the threshold. But I think it is that, when you run the numbers, you spoke about it would cost 23 billion if you raise it to 2 million. It would cost 34 billion if you raise it to 2.5. It would cost 45 billion if you raise it to 3. So that's a big ticket item. It's very expensive. And it now ends up costing 9 billion to raise it to 1.7. I think an effort was made to try to raise it to a point beyond which you might have to start consider maybe possibly raising taxes. And I don't think that is what the minister really wanted at the end of the day. And that's how he was able to now find that balance between giving this back and also maintaining ourselves on the trajectory that we're on.
And before I bring in Alison, I want a little bit more development on that, Keenan, because 1.5 to 1.7, yes?
Yes.
But he also made the case that he has to, in the interest of equity, give most now to those who have not been touched, who have not been addressed for 9 years, the pensioners over 55 and 65. Yes? Talk to me about how that balancing act.
Yes, I mean, the pensioners especially, you're talking about people at the end of the working life cycle who are especially falling in that vulnerable category. For if you have so long without raising those thresholds, doing it now is what I would have referred to as, removing those sort of structural bottlenecks. These are the smaller ticket items that were not previously paid attention to, but they had a big effect, right, in terms of the magnitude on the those persons. This is likely to have a bigger effect for those persons compared to persons who are earlier in the working cycle.
Mm.
And Alison Peart, you're the tax expert. What's your reaction to the budget?
Time, I have no new taxes. Anytime my taxes go down, I am a happy person.
Mm.
So no new tax codes to have to memorize now.
Correct. But there are some concerns. I noted that to pay for it, $25 billion was securitized. So I need more info on that, where he said the estimated flows from securitization of receivables, which means we're going to have to, we would need 25 million. We need to be securitizing receivables every year of 25 million. So I don't know the details of what he's done. For persons that don't know these big terms that we as accountants like to use, or economists actually, it's not really accountants. When you securitize your receivables, you get the cash up front. So you get the cash now, not in the future. So this means that's $25 million. It appears that we're getting now. I would need to see what is going to happen next year and the year after to plug. So I need more info on that.
What
However,
Dennis is saying? Dennis?
I think it's 45 billion, not 25 billion.
No, on the summary of revenue measures, if you look at it, to plug it, it's 25. So the 45 would be some more. I think it's 45 that he's securitized.
Right, right.
When he looked at the flows of the receivables, the cash that he's getting to offset the revenue, it's 25.
25 billion or million?
Million.
What?
Million.
25 million US.
Right. No.
What?
Jamaican.
25?
Yep.
Million?
Billion.
Oh, you kept on saying million. That's why.
120
Yeah.
million Jamaican dollars, which is 25.1 billion.
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that is what balanced the revenue impact.
Mm-hmm.
So just to be clear, I'm happy that we're getting it, but I just want to make sure I understand how this is going to be paid for each year, because these changes impact us each year.
Mm-hmm.
So by not increasing taxes, the money had to come from somewhere. And when I look at the summary of revenue measures, the funds came from the estimated flows from securitization of receivables, which means that stream needs to continue.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd need more info on that. Now, for the pensioners, I'm all in favor for giving money to the pensioners, because we will be there one day, and I'm hoping in the future, we look after our pensionable persons, because without them, we wouldn't exist. Couple of things that I will admit I did raise as an issue, one of which is the clarification of the income tax rate on trust and corporate services companies. For the FATF, those changes for money laundering and terrorism that was made with regards to regulating the provision of those services. By regulating it, it made those persons pay a 33 1/3% tax. Minister has clarified that that was not the intent, and therefore they would remain at 25. So just so everybody understands, prior to that announcement, if you are in the trust and corporate services sector, you suddenly last year, by virtue of being regulated by the FSC, suddenly had an increase in tax. But he has regularized that. I am happy to see when you come off the plane, it's $1,000 US. We've been asking for $1,000 US for some time. I would love that to be somehow indexed, because cost of money is moving, and not that we want people to come in here without paying duty, but how much can you really carry in those suitcases? The other thing that I think is important is the movement of that income tax threshold, because I have economists on here, I'm not one, but I know my value for money, and from the time this was changed to now, it has greatly eroded. So I was happy to see it. I was just worried about the inflationary costs if we went and made that amount really, really large. I like the reverse tax credit because it pushes more people to file and come out of the informal sector. The amount of 20,000, I don't know if that will be enough to encourage persons, but I would love for more of us to be in the formal sector, because when I look at what our economists tell us is our GDP, and I look around, I don't think we're capturing everything.
You think our GDP is actually bigger?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think by having more people in the formal net, having a reverse credit, I always prefer to give a credit where you pay the tax and get it back, because we know who you are. It's not a scam. I prefer that.
Have you ever done this in Jamaica before?
I've not seen it. What we've done is a similar thing during COVID, where if you were registered, you got money. Something that would be similar to this would be the employment tax credit, where if you file on time as an employer and you pay your employment taxes on time, you get a credit, so you get some tax back. That's the closest to it. But in terms of putting cash in someone's hand, I haven't seen this in a non-COVID year.
Wouldn't this be essentially similar to the NHT refund that is done annually, though, where you file and you get a refund based on what you put in?
No, because the NHT refund, you don't get it back immediately. So let's be clear. When you pay your NHT this year, you don't get it back immediately. There's a time value on it. With this one, you're going to get it much faster. And also with the NHT, you have had to have been registered. This is new, where it's trying to bring people in. And then I have an issue with the NHT, where the employer never gets back that money. So that's really a tax. I would love to see that redeployed to the unemployment insurance. So instead of taking it to the consult fund, just, give it to unemployment insurance as part of that and streamline all those taxes, because it's confusion, especially if you're a new employer, if you're a small business person trying to track all of those. They streamlined it by having it paid to TJ. But when I hear about our wage bill, if we were to be more efficient and put more of those entities together and have one, you would see our wage bill change.
Mm-hmm. So if I could, Cliff, this is something that I've been promoting for years, where we need to have a look at our entire statutory grouping of payments and see how we can better address them. However, seeing how the Minister of Finance has proceeded here, he obviously wants to, as he said, proceed little. He's not willing to make, it doesn't seem like he's willing to make these big, massive changes and movements to the system and or to the economy. He wants to build up the reserves first. And then once he has the reserves well in hand, then he takes off a little at a time. So listen, I'm going to respect that completely. And as I said, I am very comfortable with the approach and knowing that the country's finances are in good hands.
Mm-hmm. All right, we're up on another break. Stay with us, ladies and gentlemen.
The Integrity Commission Statutory Declaration form has changed. Download the new form and file securely within your organization before March 31. The time by the Integrity Commission is
7:29.
Know your numbers and take control of your life. Don't wait till it's too late. Check your doctor today. Yeah. Get the BMI check, your blood pressure check, your blood sugar and cholesterol check. We're living well when we stay on top of our health. Know your numbers and take control of your life. Don't wait till it's too late. Check your doctor today. Know your numbers and take control of your life.
A message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
KFC!
New crunch sandwich from KFC. Great flavor, great price, it's for me. KFC signature, hot and spicy. Chicken with the lettuce, mayo, fries and Pepsi. We've got you covered when you're hungry. The new crunch sandwich from KFC. We've got you covered when you're hungry. The new crunch sandwich from KFC.
Hungry for deals? Get the new Crunch Sandwich Combo from KFC. A small hot and spicy chicken sandwich with lettuce and mayo, plus fries and a Pepsi. For just $600. Also available in barbecue. A finger-licking good deal. KFC.
29 minutes going up to 8 o'clock. We are looking at the budget as presented today in the House of Representatives by Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark. He had several goodies, yes, although some people were expecting a higher increase in the income tax threshold.
I can tell you there's quite a bit of disappointment around that income tax threshold.
That wasn't
Dennis?
possible.
That was
and Siobhan, no. I spoke with Siobhan about it. I told him he was
Yes,
going to
I mean,
go
I expected 1.8,
Yeah.
but 1.7, close enough.
I think what was important, though, Siobhan, is that he explained how many people it would have affected.
Mhm.
And to me, what he did was look for the bigger
Those,
result.
yes, the more beneficial
Yeah, the
amount.
more beneficial, so you can't blame him.
But listen, one of the things we need to be careful of, right? And, Metro mentioned little, right? And it's important because all of this has happened, but we still have the fundamental problem of productivity in the country.
Absolutely.
We can't afford to put money out there too much when our productivity level is low.
Mhm.
We'll drive ourselves into inflation.
Yes.
And we have to be careful of that. And therefore, I think that's why I said the budget is well thought out in terms of how you approach it, in terms of moving the impediments to make for a more productive society. You can't put money in a society that's not productive.
But after
They
you
run into
said
problems.
But how do you improve within our context?
Improve productivity.
Donovan, speaking to the microphone.
I just one example alone. We spend over $200 billion a year in productive time in traffic. Think about if you were to improve traffic flow by putting a good transportation system in place, right? And prevent people who leave in university from having to think about car loan, improving disposable income, right? Just by doing that alone, think about that. If you do that, you cut down also your oil bill because you don't have to carry in it as much fuel, right? So the capital infrastructure projects he speaks about is going to move the productivity needle, right? Because Jamaicans are not lazy. Jamaicans just are impeded in Jamaica by the structure that we have.
Can't disagree.
And I would like to put that this matter of fixing public procurement,
yes,
that red tape and cutting down the necessitation of moving certain objects all the way up to cabinet level when they don't necessarily need to go that high. Yeah. But there, and I think Dr. Clark highlighted, there is the concern though that this was created, these rules were created in a situation where there was very little trust in the institutions in our country to properly manage the people's resources. Have we moved away sufficiently now from that concern where we can cut those tapes?
I speaking personally for somebody who has been in the public sector, right, and I've always spoken against the public procurement, it's a total waste of resources and time, the way it's structured now, because it does not prevent people from giving the job to the person they want to give it to. All they do is do the procurement rules around the person who they want to give the service.
The truth is we cannot afford not to do it. It's like when we used to come to the airport and they used to check every single bag. Yeah. It simply was not productive. It was not efficient. It was not a good use of resources. The way the procurement system is set up now simply is a poor use of resources. Yeah. We take too long. The minister outlined it today. It was up to 400 days it took for certain procurement. Things become obsolete in 40 days, much as 400 days.
I'll give you an example, and I will speak to Cliff about it. We know we had a garbage crisis in this country, and we had to go through 9 months of securing garbage trucks to fix the problem that was going to cost us more than what it was that we're trying to save.
So what he has proposed today, or what he suggested, will that make a difference?
It will make a huge difference.
How so?
Because you're number one, you're moving the limit of what needs to go to the Public Procurement Committee, for example, from 30 million to 60 million. The sole source, you're moving from up to, I think, 3.5 million.
From
right?
1.5.
From 1.5.
Right. So can you imagine how many transactions now you're freeing up at that level?
It's a start. Right? It's not enough, though. It's certainly not enough. But the minister, in his typical way, is inching closer to getting to where we need to get. But it's a good start, and it's a move in the right direction.
Yes.
But what I can tell you, Cliff and Metri, is that 25 years ago, we didn't think that we'd be here today, based on how things are going on.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Alison?
I was saying, in terms of my view on it, I'm not public sector in any way, but as a taxpayer, when you see the procurement, until you hear the Auditor General making comments, you never know whether or not there was good use of money. So for me, I prefer to see, okay, how is the money done? Yes, you have guardrails, but free them up further and check to make sure that you're getting value for money. It makes no sense to buy a $5 million garbage truck, which breaks down in a month. So I would think I would want to see a different way of looking at it. Get it moved, but then get rid of people who don't deliver.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. I don't know what you guys think of that. But
it's a start, Alison. It doesn't go far enough, but it's a good start. Yeah. And
No, I'm not saying it isn't. I'm saying
I agree
what we should move towards. Because right now, let's be blunt. You could go through and meet all the procurement, and you're a crappy provider of service. Mm-hmm. I'm giving you an example.
It happens every day.
It happens every day. So I would prefer that we look at what we're getting for value for money. It's the same thing for efficiency. And I mean, I love the fact that we are seeing more money spent with the TAJ, but because they don't just collect income tax. I mean, there's a ton of stuff they do. But I'll tell you some of the impediments we have. At the company's office, we have to file beneficial ownership. It's paper. They're not online.
Mm.
So I would want us to move. I want to see more money in that type of thing, because everybody has to file a company return, not the income tax. Everybody has to file beneficial ownership if you're registered. As a small business person, that drives them crazy because the amount of times they bounce financial statements, they're not online. So TAJ is moving quite well. I would love to see more things like TAJ.
Yeah. Let me, it's 7:38, 22 minutes going up to 8 o'clock. Let me go through some of the other issues the finance minister raised today. Yes? Beginning with you, Donovan Wignall. No guarantors now for student loans bureau.
That has been a long outstanding one, Cliff. I think it was very unfair. I've been guarantors for quite a few people, and the hoops you have to jump through, even people in my office who have people who have applied to the university. And when I see the list of stuff that I had to do, the different places I have to go, and the different things I had to do to be the guarantor for, it was a turn off. It was difficult for, parents who couldn't afford it to get a guarantor. I think this is a major step, and it's something that I've advocated for before, and I think this is a big one as well.
Yeah. What say you, Keenan?
Oh, that is definitely a big one. It will encourage more applications, and it was always likely to move in that direction. You reduce it from 2 to 1 to 0. So, I think overall that is a step in the right direction. It's a good policy.
We did raise it earlier, but I want us to go back and get a little bit more. The proposed unemployment insurance scheme, expected $200 million loan agreement with the World Bank to implement it. Never before done in Jamaica. Yes. Do you have that clip for me, Books? Can line it up for me when the finance minister spoke to that. Yeah, unemployment insurance scheme in Jamaica. No, it's in the run. Yes, the third clip or the fourth clip, I think it is. Yes, from Dana, where he speaks to this matter of the unemployment insurance. Spoken about it before, but it seems as if it's going to happen this time around. Yes, you have it. Let's listen.
Happy to report, Madam Speaker, that macro stability makes it feasible for Jamaica to have an unemployment insurance scheme that benefits Jamaican workers. So, Madam Speaker, an insurance scheme can play a critical role in a stabilization role in providing income security of the unemployed, particularly during periods of economic shock, and therefore compensating partially for lost earnings. And it breaks the negative cycle of unemployment, leading to reduced consumption, leading to further reduction in economic activity. So it can stabilize, Madam Speaker, and improve macro stability. And the social impact of unemployment insurance is huge. Right? Jamaica's average income is such that many persons live, paycheck to paycheck. Long been a reality. And having a job is better than not having one, but if you lose that job, it plunges the family into disarray. Several observers and commentators have often pointed to the relative social stability of Barbados. One of the big differences, many differences, but one key economic institutional difference is that Barbados has long had unemployment, a solid social security system with unemployment as a major pillar. Bahamas also has unemployment insurance, and the COVID-19 experience, Madam Speaker, my understanding is that several countries in the region have been doing similar work as we have for similar reasons. Now, how would it work, Madam Speaker? It would work like it works elsewhere, that employees would be registered and included in an unemployment insurance scheme, and for Jamaica, it's likely that those who contribute to the national insurance scheme would be automatically included. On the loss of a job confirmed by employee and employer, the newly unemployed would become eligible to receive an unemployment benefit representing a particular percentage of their previous weekly income, up to a maximum threshold for a period of time. In Barbados, the unemployment benefit is 60% of previous average weekly earnings. In Bahamas, the benefit is 50% of previous average weekly earnings. In Barbados, the benefit is paid for 26 weeks. In Bahamas, it's paid for 13 weeks. Jamaica will have to work out unemployment benefit parameters that work for us. And, Madam Speaker, unemployment insurance schemes are not free, they cost money. Usually these costs are funded by employer and employer deductions, with the government sometimes making an upfront fiscal contribution on inception to capitalize the scheme, and treat with the possibility of major unemployment materializing before the scheme has amassed sufficient funds. The feasibility study indicates that it could cost as little as 0.8% of salary and as high as 1.5% of salary for all employed persons, with capital contribution for the government of a few billion dollars for this benefit to be provided, depending on the parameters selected. However, Madam Speaker, Jamaica has a plethora of separate statutory deductions. We have NHT, we have NIS, we have HART, we have EdTax, and adding a fifth, replicating the collection, processing, and enforcement administration, and adding further complexity for small business is not optimal for employees. As such, we are looking into administratively consolidating these statutory deductions into a single deduction, with the distribution to each entity of its share enshrined in and protected by legislation. This is not a new idea, not a new idea, but there are details and complexities. Anybody who takes it up, right? Details and complexities to be worked through. However, the major advantage of consolidation, Madam Speaker, in the context of introducing a new benefit like unemployment insurance, is that initial calculations show that we could potentially introduce this benefit without increasing the headline statutory deduction rate, and with no additional cost for up to 95% of persons enrolled in national insurance. So, Madam Speaker, we're now at the point of implementation, and so, Madam Speaker, we have a lot of things, right? We are expecting to sign, I believe it's a $20 million loan agreement with the World Bank, where they'll provide the Ministry of Labour and Social Security with the technical support to implement unemployment insurance, and the World Bank will assist us with many things, including the legislative architecture, the institutional mechanisms, the administrative arrangements for unemployment insurance.
Gentlemen and lady, yeah? Keenan?
So the parameters of an unemployment insurance scheme are especially important. You know, you would expect that the success of such a scheme is really contingent on the fact that most of the persons who are expected to benefit are formally employed. And so, you know, it is in your best interest to ensure that more and more people are formally employed, so that more and more people will ultimately be able to benefit.
Mm-hmm. And I wonder, an offshoot, and I put this to you and Metrisiak, an offshoot of this is the benefit of the consolidation of the various taxes into a single payment. I guess Mr. Hughes can talk into it. You're a business owner as well, and you pay people. Mm-hmm. Tell me the immeasurable benefit of that to business owners.
So when I heard the minister in Parliament today, I wanted to get up and clap, but I know it's not correct. The truth be told is that this is something that has been long coming, and he said so. There is, listen, the devil now is going to be in the details. We are going to have to sit down and work closely with the government to make sure that there is give and there is take. We were talking about it before, and then so saying maybe this is the end of redundancy now, because people have an unemployment benefit. Maybe there's no need for redundancies anymore. So it's going to be a detailed negotiation, a give and a take, and the unions are going to have to weigh in. But an unemployment scheme is critically important. Let's now work out the details. What our job is going to be as the business community and as social commentators, we have to make sure that this is done quickly and not just a promise that is not fulfilled.
Mm-hmm. I think the whole consolidation of the unemployment, of the tax type, was a part of a research paper. I think it was a part of an initiative by Joe Matalan about 13 years ago.
2012.
Right.
I was on that committee.
So was I.
There.
Right. So, I mean, I think I was a part of the process as well. And that was a major suggestion that, you know, has come full circle now.
Yeah.
I think it's a great idea. It's less cumbersome for us in filing the taxes and interacting with the tax offices on a monthly basis. I think that would be a welcome relief. But I don't want to miss something with the unemployment insurance. And the minister kind of hinted that it might be an expense. I don't know, probably I could be wrong, to the employer. And I hope not. Because there are many ways to skin a cat, and I think that particular nuance, how we pay for the unemployment insurance, I don't think it should be an added. And let me just say it from now, I don't think it should be an added expense for the employer. So wherever that money is going to come from, it could be seed money from the government. Like, for example, the government put in a couple $2 billion and say, okay, this is seed money for the plan, and we'll get the money from X or Y place, and the fund continue to grow. Something, I think Alice who said that something similar to the NHT or whatever. But at the end of the day, a new addition to the employment landscape at this point in time should not be an expense to the employer.
Yeah, but Donovan, I mean, I think even if the employer were to pay a small percentage on the employee, it would be, if you structure it properly, it would be way less expensive than what pertains now, Yeah. Because the thing for me is that this unemployment insurance is the first time that we are trying to start to deliver on what the IMF said was very important in 2013, which we haven't done, which is labor market reform. Mm-hmm. This should be the start of labor market reform. It should be end of redundancies, right? And therefore wouldn't be any need for you to type yourself going to IDT and this and that, because
massive burden.
Exactly. So if employers were to pay 0.5% and employees 0.5% of their salary and cut out all of that legal thing and all of this thing of redundancy payment, it would be much, much less expensive. And as I said, is a step to labor market reform. We couldn't have done it before, because you can't have unemployment insurance in a country with unemployment of 14%. Because you constantly have people on unemployment at that time. But
Alison, I hear you wanting to come in, Alison.
Yeah, I want to raise something, because, I started my working life in Canada, where I paid into unemployment insurance, and you still got redundancy. So, for example, if I'm employed in Canada, I work 20 years, I'm made redundant, I get up to 3 years of payment. The unemployment insurance didn't impact that. Also, with the unemployment insurance in Canada, it was a great way for pregnant women to spend more time with their children, because it was quite expensive if you decided to take a break. So that also has to be looked at. So for me, just to clarify, my comment about the NHT, I don't see the NHT in other countries. And with the NHT employer portion never going back to the employer, which is an additional tax, I think that could be used as seed money, or perhaps that could be, portion of the employer portion, since they pay it already, or split it, because you pay into NHT whether you use it or not. So whether you have a house, you're paying this tax for people, and we have to watch the employer. But I'm just pointing out that having paid unemployment insurance and never claimed it in my life, you do have a push and pull, and you still have access to redundancy. So knowing our court system, I'm not sure it would get rid of it. So I think what we should look at is making sure the unemployment insurance does what it should, which is ensuring that in between jobs, or if you are pregnant and you lose your job, you get it. We have to watch, though, because some of the Canadian unemployment insurance is abused. So I do take the point. You should be getting back what you've paid in. It shouldn't be a dole, or a form of money for you. The other thing I want to clarify, where we talk about the multiple taxes, there was reform where you're not going to NHT, you're not going to the NI office. With TAJ filing everything online, I don't even notice that it's different taxes, because I'm paying one person. So I want to see what more the minister means there. For me, I would want them consolidated into one. I don't see why we have to be paying to different, and the acts are very different. So what qualifies for NIS doesn't necessarily qualify for NHT. I think that is where we need to move to. So from a payment perspective, as somebody who processes return, the payment goes straight to TAJ. You're not going to multiple people. You're paying them. So what I would want to see is efficiency, where, you're not having to face an NHT audit and a TJ audit and a NIS audit and a heart audit. You should get one space. But, everybody has a fiefdom. It's hard to get rid of employment, but I'm just raising the issue that for me, when I hear one tax, I need more info. Because right now, even though it's several, I'm paying only TAJ.
Yeah, but the devil will be in the details.
Correct.
However,
But I'm just clarifying.
Yeah, no, you're right, Alison. But listen, it's every opportunity I've had to say this over the last 10 years. I've said it. We need to look at revising our statutory payments.
Agreed.
And listen,
I agree with you.
In my
but I'm just
organization,
pointing out
less than
that
5%.
Right now, what we have sounds very close to what the minister has said. I wanted to go further.
I agree. And listen, I don't know what the percentage is. In my organization, less than 5% of the people have accessed the NHT, an NHT loan. That I would assume is the average across Jamaica. I don't know. However, what is important is that the government collects from all of us, employers and employees, and they give back the employees who do claim it back, which is a small percentage of people that do claim it back. The point is, it's, in my opinion, it's not a good system, the NHT, nor the NIS. The statutories need to be looked at in a wholesome and fulsome way. However, baby steps. We're moving in the right direction. Let's keep moving in that direction.
Ladies and gentlemen, there's a question I have to ask you all. Yeah? We know, if you have your ears to the ground, since the local government elections, Nigel Clark, Andrew Holness have been under pressure, inside and outside the Labour Party, that you can't continue to talk about good macroeconomic performance and people not feeling it. Yes? To what extent did Nigel Clark answer that question this evening? To what extent did he go in calming those pressures, easing those pressures? Dennis Chung.
I think he did a good job in showing the link between macro economy and micro and what benefits we can get from it. What I would say is that the budget does not solve the fundamental problem we have, which is productivity. But he has shown that these measures that he's taking is trying to clear the path for a more productive environment. But until we address the issue of labor market reform, nothing that he does will resolve that issue. And that's why the unemployment insurance as a first move to labor market reform, I think, is good. But this budget presentation, I think, was a thinking budget. It is a budget that looks forward and not one that is just a mathematical problem. And I think that from that perspective, he did a good job in showing the link, right? And I think that was the key thing that needed to happen. And, maybe it was a good thing coming out of the local government election that this approach was taken.
Alison Peart, same question for you.
Well, he's trying. My concern, as I said, I'm scratching my head about the payment with the securitization of receivables. In terms of what the average man, I think they wanted more. There was some hype about the personal tax threshold. I'm just saying how people feel. And they hear the macro and the balancing and all of that. But at the end of the day, I think the average person feels that, they see all this construction, they see all these new roads, they're paying more for a lot of things in the stores, and they probably want more. In terms of what could be done, he definitely tried his best, as far as I can tell. But I need more information about that securitization, because without it, the money would have to come from somewhere.
Donovan Wignall.
You would have to ask a question.
To what extent did he go in far or just a little bit in easing the pressures on the narrative that has been built up? The feeling that, listen, we're doing well macroeconomically, but the small man at the base is not feeling it.
I think the message to the small man is, or the question the small man is going to ask is, how will this affect my spend at the supermarket tomorrow? How will this affect my personal economy? for someone who's not impacted by the tax threshold, for someone who's not impacted by a lot of the stuff that were announced, economic stuff. Between now and the next 6 months, the next 3 months, by the end of the year, will this make a difference in how I can afford to live?
All right. Let me read, for example, what I've just been shown. Yeah, sent on my WhatsApp by a laborite, a senior laborite. We have a disconnect. This budget has nothing for the small man. It's quite delusional. Road, water, grants for hairdressers, barbers, shopkeepers, small hustling youths, etc., etc. That's the base talking. I think uptown folks disconnected like your folks talking. Average Jamaican thinks different.
Yeah, but that person, Cliff, is disconnected like a lot of people in terms of understanding that the budget is not just what Nigel Clark presents, but you have the sectoral speeches that
There's
are
a
coming.
lot to come.
And that is where you're
The
going
Prime
to
Minister
find-
is to come.
Right, that's where you're going to find
well.
the policies on the ground implemented in those presentations.
All right.
But Cliff,
yes, Alison.
like I was saying, people wanted more. But can the government afford it? Which is why I'm saying he's doing his best. But the average man, like I said, they always want, like, what's in it for me?
All right. Keenan, you want to take a quick stab at it?
Yeah, it's really hard to evaluate the finance minister's, and that's, not just Dr. Clark, but the finance minister's presentation in terms of parameters outside of the very technical details. You could say it was very measured, but I expect that most of the translation into the programs specifically and the projects, that's how you translate macro to micro, would be undertaken by the Prime Minister in terms of social policy, education, health, poor relief, housing, and things like that.
Metri?
That Rockstone laborator just spoke about wanted Nigel to fly the gate and run with it. And I feel that Nigel was responsible, did the right thing, and did what was right for Jamaica first. It is time our politicians start to do that. We have had enough of politicians doing what it takes to stay in power and cost the country. It is up to us as our people to determine whether or not the people are doing the right thing for our country rather than to give them handouts. So I'm very happy with what he did.
Metri Siaga, Keenan Faulkner, Alison Peart, Dennis John, Donovan Wignall, thank you so much. Okay? That's where we're going to leave it for this evening. I want to say thanks to all contributors, our producer, Dana Davey, members of the news and production team, led by our acting editor, Ms. Cara Powell. George Davis will be back on Monday. And our parliamentary reporter, Siobhan Campbell, we have to big you up. Worked overtime this afternoon, was under pressure to churn out the stories. Big up yourself, Siobhan.
Just doing my job.
Thanks, Bugs. All right. No, he's not getting any salary increase. Yes. I'm Cliff Hughes.
And I'm Siobhan Campbell.
Reminding you, take care of your loved one and look out for your neighbor. Good night.